Hey, welcome to episode 4 of 28th, a month in my life with James Simmons. I am your host, James Simmons, and it's good to be back with you this month. Thank you for joining me. Really do appreciate the support. Got lots of feedback from episode 3. Always having great conversations, and it's great to see that the views have gone up. Lots more views of the episode, and again, I greatly appreciate it. Just really encourages me and lets me know that folks are getting something out of what's being said. And at the beginning and end of the day, that is the whole purpose of me doing this is to increase someone's awareness about what's going on in my shoes as a black man navigating this world here in California and the various places that I do visit outside of this state. I'm going to go talk a little bit about something that's just been in the news a lot and just a lot of interaction with black men and law enforcement in the news. That is something that really hits home to me as I'm a black man, but also out in the community a lot, whether it be in my car, walking around in the neighborhood, you name it, just out and about. And I live in an area where the demographics is just very, very not in my favor. And it's a little bit scary sometimes. And it's really scary when there's pictures painted of you in a very non-pleasing light. And, I've shared many of times on, different social media platforms that I'm on of, how can little old James, 5'5" and 135, 140 pounds of me be this intimidating force of nature walking around out and about in the community. But it has been told to me. I remember my days in college and, being a football player, maybe a little bit more in fit and so on and so forth. But definitely not the biggest person in the room, not the biggest person on campus. But, I was told that I was this intimidating person. I just never understood that. It's very interesting, so if people, my age, have seen me that way, and I've seen lots of the portrayals and stereotypes, I can see how, I could be someone to be a little fearful of in that regards, walking the streets that I walk and driving the neighborhoods that I've drive. And, I just want to talk a little bit about that. I have a respect and a love for our law enforcement. Got two brothers that have made a career out of it, have countless of friends who have made careers out of it. At one point in time, myself, I wanted to make a career out of it and actually went through the process, which gave me a greater perspective on what the job entails. Doing ride-alongs with officers in various communities and in various departments, whether it be the police department or the sheriff's department. But I've done a lot of homework, and in my area of expertise or the field that I work in, my career, working with local law enforcement as well has been something that has always been very important, and has always been a department that we worked closely with. I worked with probation as well. So working with our judicial system, just in general, has been a system that I've worked closely with, and again has tried to understand their perspectives, and just get to know and teach them a little bit about our field in social work and what we're trying to accomplish as well. But it hasn't always been easy. And for me, when I look at a lot of the things on the news, it sparks feelings for me, of similar situations that I have been in. What happens if it would have went a different way? Would I be here, or would I have gotten beaten up, or whatever it may be? Because it seems like the times that I've been pulled over, and I just wrote it down. I've been pulled over a total of 12 times in motor vehicle stops, or a motorcycle as well, but a total of 12 times. And of those 12 times that I've been pulled over, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 tickets that I had to pay, and 2 fix-it tickets that I had to take care of. So the vast majority of the times that I've been pulled over have been pulled over for things for no reason, pretty much. I know, just based off of a little of my knowledge and what I've been told, is, one of the easiest ways to make contact with a citizen is if they have, a violation on their vehicle. That could be an obstructed license plate. That could be tinted windows, things of that nature. It can be an air freshener hanging from the rear view mirror. So things of that nature. And I've had my share of those. And what has happened is that it has led to more aggressive questioning of, where am I going? What am I doing? And I remember one time in particular, when I was dating my wife, and I had just dropped her off. And I was on my way going home. And what I did is the street that I was coming down, well lit street, and I know that there is a bar there. So I make my turn, and before I make my turn, my left-hand turn, a police officer drives, going perpendicular, going the other direction. And I see him, and I look, and that was that. He went down that way. I pulled out to make my turn so I can, go on my way. And I see him make a U-turn. And the first thought in my mind was, I don't feel like it tonight. Sure enough, he catches up, speeds up, catches up to me, and lights flash, and he pulls me over. And immediately comes to me and asks me, I pulled you over? I'm like, no, I don't. And this is exactly how it went. I pulled you over because you have tints on your front windows. How much have you been drinking? I kid you not. I smell alcohol in the vehicle. And I was really, really upset. And I definitely had a tone to my voice when I said, you must be smelling perfume because I don't drink. And that's what I said. And anybody who knows me knows that I do not drink. So that's not something that would have been going on for me that night. But it just seemed to be the perfect combination of me, being in violation, coming from a stop, which appeared that may have been coming from a bar. So it seemed like a good pull, in a sense. And that's how sometimes folks make their money. And I don't mean money literally, but sometimes they get lucky. Sometimes they don't. But I know I see an awful lot of people riding every single day with their windows tinted. Not that I need to do it. So my lesson learned is I don't give folks a reason to pull me over, because you never know what's going to happen. So I was in the wrong. I corrected it. But I definitely did not feel that I was treated appropriately by the line of questioning. It just wasn't legit. He was searching for something, fishing for something. And once he found out that it wasn't there, he stopped the line of questioning. And I can go further with that story, but there's no need. But for me, when I see a lot of these things going on in the news about black men being pulled over, unarmed black men being shot, it's very scary to me. And it's always a concern when I drive nowadays and, I see police cars out. It makes me think twice, not about if I'm doing anything wrong, but it just makes me think, I don't feel like any nonsense today. I know I have all my paperwork, everything is legit. But unfortunately, that's the reality that I live in. And I consider myself a law-abiding citizen, but that's the feeling that I have, and it's not a good feeling. And for me, most of the time, these incidents happen at night, which makes it even worse. Because you have people trying to do the right thing of wanting to pull over in a well-lit area, and that's considered evading. Yeah, but in reality, it's something that someone is doing because they're trying to be safe. So just wanted to, give you a little insight or a little backdrop about just the anxiety that I have. And, I don't speak for anybody else, but it's common. Some of the folks that I speak to, some of the brothers that I have, black guys that I, know, this is how we feel getting behind the steering wheel, and wanting to just get home safe, just like everybody else. It is definitely a concern. Wanted to share some numbers with you as well, about some statistics. I like to be factual, and factual is my lived experience, and also factual is statistics that have been, just put in articles based off of research and certain departments around the country that have put these statistics to paper, probably because they've had to, because of complaints and things of that nature. They've been investigated because of the practices that they practice in their departments, and it may be disproportionately, you know, uh, policing certain groups harder than others. And I'm a New York kid, and I remember my very first, contact with a police officer. I was not even 10 years old. I was on my block, and two police officers come up in an unmarked car, and a group of my friends, and there's like, "What y'all doing?" Again, one of those interrogating and scruffy voices, and not, "Hey, how you kids doing?" Nothing like that. But we were doing something that we had no business doing, was what they had come to us and how they approached us. And we just said, "Nah, we're not doing nothing. Nothing's going on." And I remember asking, "Am I in trouble?" And the cop looked at me. He says, "Do you want to be in trouble?" I don't know too many kids that really want to be in trouble with cops, especially when you're that young, not knowing what's going on. But that was my very, very first contact. But, I'm a New York kid, and there's been some studies done, with stop and frisk data in New York City. And this was big, really, really, really big, in the 2000s. Just this practice of, stopping people, shaking them down, and then having to move forward. And one of the things, just taking a look at it, it says stop and frisk data in New York City. 9 out of 10 stopped and frisked New Yorkers were completely innocent. 9 out of 10 people that were pulled over, and I don't say pulled over, but stopped, and we're talking about people walking around, going about their daily business, 90% of those people were innocent. 90% of those people were innocent. That's huge. That means that I'm going home from work, I get stopped and questioned. That means I'm going to the grocery store to get some milk from my kids, I get stopped and questioned. That means I'm going to, I can't even think. Dwayne Reed, there we go. I've been in California too long, I'll be forgetting some of the names of the stores. Dwayne Reed to get my prescriptions, and I get stopped and questioned. That's not right. That's not fair. After a couple of those, I'm going to have some feelings about it. I might not be yes, sir, and no, ma'ams after you pull me over or you stop me for the nth time, and I'm just going about my daily business, not messing with anybody. 9 out of 10 times to get something wrong is not a good percentage. It's not a good percentage. If you make 9 out of 10 free throws, you're doing good. If you stop 9 people out of 10 that are innocent, you're not doing a good job. So that's just innocent people, right? But I want to take a look at the demographics of New York City. 44.5% New Yorkers are white. 27.5% are Hispanic. 25.1% are black. Okay. 72% in the U.S. total white. 16.3% Hispanic U.S. 12.6% U.S. black. Okay. Now, in 2011, 685,000 stops were conducted. Frisks, stop and frisks. Again, 9 out of 10. 88% were innocent. Of those 685,000 people that were stopped in 2011, 9% were white. 34% were Hispanic. 53% were black. Now I'm going to go to 2019. Now the stops drastically decreased. And there's lots of reasons why it decreased. Just policies and just a lot of stuff. Don't want to get into it. But some things haven't changed. 9% white were stopped and frisked. 29% Hispanic stopped and frisked. And again, 59% black stopped and frisked. Now, I like math. 1 + 1 is 2. That's really, really easy stuff. There's not a lot of debate about that. But when you have a disproportionate amount of people being stopped and frisked, there's a problem. Not only is there a problem, but there is cause for concern, and it's concerning to the people who's being pulled over, or stopped and frisked. So the point that I'm making is there's some issues with how we police people. There's problems with how we police innocent people. And until things of that nature gets corrected, we're going to constantly have problems with how law enforcement is viewed by the community, specifically people of color. And we have to do something about it. We have to do something about it. first we have to look at it and admit that there's a problem. And then we have to be willing to do something to fix the problem. Because I shouldn't go out and fear, 9 out of 10 times I'm going out as an innocent person, I'm going to be stopped and questioned and detained, stop doing what I'm doing. Because why? I mean, that's the question I would love to know. Why? And I've got my own opinions on that, because one of the things I've loved to do, and I'd love to do, is study the history of policing. Study the history of policing and how it all started. And how it all started was slave patrols, right? So there was a specific mentality. And I know, and I'm speaking for myself, I know folks will be like, oh, I wasn't born then, that didn't, we're so far from that. But if you can look into your family, and you're a police officer, I like Blue Bloods. I don't know if anybody like Blue Bloods. I don't know if they make new episodes now or what, but I know I watch a lot of the old stuff. But in that family, you got the grandfather who was a police officer, I think maybe even a commissioner. Then you got the dad who was a police officer. And then you have all of the sons that have gotten into law enforcement. So to me, there's generations that have been involved. And I know lots of families like that I personally know, from generation to generation. I want to do what my dad did. My dad did what my grandfather did. My grandfather did what my great-grandfather did. And not saying that the mentality from each person may not change. But when we talk about one or two bad apples, there's a possibility of that. So I think we have to really take a look at, these numbers and really investigate, why is this? How can 50% of the people we pull over only represent, 20% of the population? Personally, I find it hard to believe that those people are more criminal than anybody else. And again, the data says 90% of those people were innocent from the jump. So something is there, and it's something there worth taking a look at. So for me, when I look at all of these things and I put it all together, it's definitely cause for me to be concerned. It's definitely cause for my wife to be concerned about me. It's definitely cause for my mother to be concerned about me. And they definitely are concerned about me. So I just want, to have that information so we can have a better understanding of, it's not something that is just made up in my mind or in my head. There are concrete reasons as to why the feelings are the way they are. And it's a fear. It's a trauma. And it's something that doesn't have to be. Not everyone has to have that talk with their kids about what to do when they face a person in a uniform with a badge and a gun and the authority. And the majority are good. The majority are great. It's when you cross, someone who is not a person of integrity, a person who doesn't care about the oath that they've taken. And for me, it's concerning because some of the insight that I have from being around the field, I've seen some things that aren't of the highest integrity, morals, and values. And that's even more scary to know that there's folks out there that could possibly take my life and wouldn't think twice about it just because of the color of my skin. And that's really real. So, You know, I want to end by saying this and by sharing this. This month has been a heavy month. And I'm calling this episode kind of the verdict. The verdict is out. The numbers kind of show us what's going on and why me as a black man, I feel the way I feel. But also the verdict is out that George Floyd was murdered. And I talked about what have we learned in the 30 years from Rodney King to now the trial of the ex-officer who took the life of George Floyd. And we have a verdict, and he was found guilty on 3 of the charges that he faced, on all of the charges he faced. And to say that there was a level of relief, I can say that 100%. But to say that it took me days of having to get away from the noise, it took me days of just turning the TV off, staying away from social media, because I was physically drained, emotionally exhausted because of all of that went on with that case. And to think that even though it was on tape, that there was a possibility that justice may not have been served, and that this justice that was served is a small piece for us all as we move forward, a piece that we need so we can move forward. But nonetheless, it's still so sad, so hurting that it took to have to get to that length to get a little bit of justice. So my hope is that we can continue to move forward, continue to do right by all of our citizens that are in the community, and that we can work together and we can solve it. We love our great officers out there. We want to work with our great officers, support our great officers out there. But you got to help us. Our systems have got to change. They got to be equitable. They have to be equal for all of us and not just some. So thank you for being with me on this 4th episode of 28th. I always look forward to sharing my heart with you. I love sharing my stories with you. And I'm going to keep coming back. So everybody be good. Thank you for the support. And I will see you next month. Take care.